Hota yatata hacha, kamupa yita, hochana, kachawata, shimonata, jekota, imananaka, wacha chamata, chikana, hoch, chana, shimonaka, autika, shomohotoka, chawanati, cheko, chanatu, Ashna, Uki, Yateta, Chumahata, Ismana, Chamoka, Hatachimo, Winjinahacha, Chawina, Chinahachawata, Shawakia, Ush, Ata, Ush, Yete, Ho, Yayaka Chamo, Kamja, Shamota, Sheta, Hatu, Katomachahacha, Cha Motecheki, Nanaku Chanakawata Chakawa Chiteha Sha Shashiyana Wa Yikecha Washna Momata Yanata.
Welcome everybody to another awesome Wednesday show with the Galactic historian Andrew Bartzis and Debbie, our other co-host, and myself, Natalie. Today we have an amazing show prepared for you and planned for you. We're having a reading with Jerry. Excuse me, I was just making sure it was right because it's a G or a J. Jerry is an amazing being, wonderful lady, incredible talent, and very, very exciting to hear her reading as we learn about new DNA strands and activating them accordingly.
Welcome everyone to another reading session. We are joined by Jerry. Jerry, welcome to the call. How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Andrew?
I'm doing great. And where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from just outside Philadelphia.
Just outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So how did my material found you? What brought you here?
I actually heard about you. I was invited up to Mount Shasta over a year ago, and your name came up. As a matter of fact, you were supposed to be there. And I heard about you, and I was just so intrigued that when I got back, I went on your website and listened to everything. And then I joined the League. And I've loved everything that you said. And I talk about you constantly. And it's so funny because, you know, here on the East Coast, you know, they're not as fast as other cities and states, you know, here in Philadelphia. And I'm very surprised that your name is starting to get around, where when I mention you, people are hearing about you.
Well, we've had a very consecutive show. I mean, I put out 153 live shows last year. That's a lot of material, and anyone in the radio industry knows when you reach episode 100, you've reached a really high level. And now we switched to this next level of production where we're doing everything at a TV scale. So yeah, the name has gotten around. I have been turning down interviews left and right for quite some time now, just because that's not in the frequency I'm in, but it's reached a point where the message has really made it far. And the way I stick to the authentic person and self that I am and how I can create this material is what the great wonder of the skill and talent is. So you've heard me do readings, I take it?
Yes.
All right. So you know how this works. You have the Akashic record of this world and 20,000 other worlds open to you. What kind of questions do you have?
Okay, it was funny. In the beginning, I really was thinking of a question that was like going to be really profound and world changing, and then I stopped it, and I would like to know about me.
You'd like to know you.
I would like to know about me. I have had experiences since I've been opening up where when I sleep, I will dream of something, and when I wake up, I am seeing beings in my room. Like, and I'll have visitations, or I'll have people working on me, and it's in my wake state now. And the thing is, I'm in total allowance of it. Like it's natural. I woke up one night and there was a grave in my room, like standing next to me, and he actually took me on his spaceship, and I was allowed to drive it. It was a single man ship. And, or I'll have a dream of someone healing me, or, believe it or not, I had a dream of, like, the cosmic eye, and George Harrison was in my bedroom. So I know as beings, like, our dream state is the real state of being. And I would just like to know, who am I? And, how do I access more of these wonderful events that I'm experiencing?
All right. Really, really good question. And I love the visual cues that you put in there, because you are heavily, heavily invested into your dream world. When you first started talking, I started pulling out, I don't know, maybe 500 or 600 different beings that have been functioning with your crown chakra, meaning whenever you're going in and out of dream space, your crown chakra is storing light body information that's being slowly downloaded into the parasympathetic. So the body becomes more and more a part of the mystical experiences that you're going through. So these dreams that you're going through, you are awake enough in the dream so that the body is being downloaded with the parasympathetic expression of the light body, so it's familiar with what's going on. So that's why these things seem very natural to you. That's a really good thing. That means you've actually activated your DNA, and you actually have 4 new strands of DNA that are at the light body level that are trying to attach to your infrared frequency DNA. Oftentimes I'll talk to people about a meditation where you create the image of a helix, a double red helix in your tailbone, coming up your spine and going out your crown chakra. So you have a double helix going up, and then you imagine a double helix that is white coming down and interloping all the way down to your tailbone. That, in the metaphor, is the alignment of our light body DNA, which is just compressed data into light that will then be stored into cellular memory. So you have 4 whole brand new strands of consciousness coming to you. And your dream world is functioning with off-world soul shards, which are one of those grays was one of your soul shards that you have given programming to in sovereignty of that own being to come and find you at a future date in fraud time, so you can begin to integrate into unity consciousness ahead of those that aren't ready for it, because they'll need to be people who can translate what it means to live multidimensional to people that don't know what it is. Those people who only eat Wonder Bread every day and all of a sudden are told about how nasty it is. How can they not eat Wonder Bread anymore? Something is really missing in them. And you'll be able to fill in that metaphor thing for them when all of a sudden they're forced to try to learn to live multidimensionally, but like without the Wonder Bread, they can't do it. You'll be giving them whole new ways of expressing that.
And also, so when I meet these other beings, they're really a part of me?
Not all of them. I will say 6 are your own pieces. But those 6 have a network of contacts that are outside of the quarantine field of Earth and are living people who are interacting with you whenever the Earth quarantine field is allowed to act with a specific sphere ship or planet ship that's just outside the rings of Saturn or just on the other side of the sun right now. There's about 250 of these planet-sized ships there, each with 80, 90, or 100 million people in them. And you are functioning in a sub-collective of about 12 million that are using you as a point in space-time fraud time and space-time universal time, so that your information stream, the fountain of energy that who you are, can be experienced with the body, so that you have innate knowingness when a awakening happens on a bigger level, so that you can impress knowingness into others and help remove fear at a time when fear is being created by propaganda.
And okay, so that's one aspect of what I'm doing, right? And what I don't understand is, you know, knowing what I know, I just find it very frustrating being here on this planet at this time, as well as a lot of other people. And to know, like, what am I really doing? Like, I so align with my dream time more than I do with my so-called real time or fraud time.
You're right, because you are. That's the way you've had to be calibrated before the system of domination and control has been broken down to what it is now. A tantruming kid in the room, and we can ignore the the kid that's having their temper tantrum. That's how much the volume and energy on domination and control has been turned down. 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been like that. You would have been a targeted individual, and you would have been zapped from high heavens just to reach this level of expression that you're at currently right now.
Is that the fact of, you know, there were 2 times in my life, and I wanted to talk to you about that. When I was very young, there was a time in my life where I had gotten really sick.
Yeah, you were targeted.
And my mother didn't know what it was, and actually my kidneys were failing. Like, I had crystals forming on my face. And when I went to the hospital, and of course when they do the checkup, they found nothing wrong with me. And then there was another time when I was an adult, when I was pregnant with my daughter, and I had got really, really sick, where I almost died from it. And again, they never, like, medical science never found anything wrong with me.
It was an actual timeline attack on your DNA lineage.
Okay.
Literally, it was like they were trying to wipe your lineage out of time expression. Okay? You know, think about who your mother and father and who their mother and father is. What do you know about them?
To tell you the truth, our family, like the lineage that I'm in now, doesn't connect with each other. It's like, it's almost as if they just give birth to people and then kind of
they're a breeder.
Don't have any relationship afterwards. And I feel like I'm a breeder. It happened to my children, and I didn't want it to happen. But I feel like all I was here was to just have kids, but not have a relationship with them.
That's what the programming and the negative programming your light body is.
So how do I dismantle that?
This negative programming in your light body is the key to understanding why frustrated you are with being here.
Is it something that I can, you know, I've been doing a lot of the contract removals and stuff. Is it something that I can work on?
It's about doing as much I am presence work as you can, where you define your kids as in equal love and co-creation with you at all times, but you are still allowed to create bubbles of reality in which you keep privacy as an I am presence to work out equations and situations, so you can still remain connected to them. They're just as unentangled observance rules, meaning that you get to go into your sacred space and be who you are and be as expressionally as you can, and they're not supposed to be a part of that space. And if they impress themselves in that space, you just have to set up the rules of that. So once you do that, you get to own your dream world. You see, once you give birth, you are dream connected to them because they've shared many dreams with you.
Mm-hmm.
And their big frustration, and so many other people out there, is they're frustrated in their dreams because they're connected to their children. They still love them, but they still didn't want it this lifetime because it really meant that they couldn't follow their dreams as much as they actually wanted to. Reality had to hit much earlier. And it was a way to take away from consciousness DNA strands that were being offered to you. It's like literally you had to turn down the big consciousness change. That's why the pregnancy happened.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it, you know, now that they're part of my DNA, is it something that's going to happen to them? Like, is it just down the lane and down the lane and down the lane? Like, can I end it?
You can end it. You can. At any time, a mother can end these contractual obligations, but it's at what scale you're going to try to express it. That's why ceremony is so vital, so you can get the language down it takes to fully express everything that you're doing. I will say, in general, when it comes to mothers and fathers that have children that they don't want to pass something on to, if you can teach the child to be spiritually clean, or those basic ideas of spiritual hygiene and they like doing it, and you can teach them enough about inner dialogue and not be judgmental of external dialogue also, so that they can work things out, and you can see the little multidimensional kid in there, you are doing the greatest good for the species.
Well, the only problem with that is that I don't have a relationship with them. They don't talk to me.
I know. That's the we'll just call it the downside of breeding DNA light body. Okay? So you're still connected to the dream world, but you don't have that physical connection to them. This is where ceremony can begin to alter the non-physical connection. Okay?
Okay.
So what is it that you do to express your spiritual ceremonies?
What is it? I do so many things. I have altars set up all over the place. I basically made my house a sanctuary.
It's a fortress.
And right, where I fill it with nature. My gardening, like how I set things up. I started to do the fire ceremony. I can't now because it's like we're under snow. But you know what else I find it's very satisfying for me is I've always been attuned to water. So every day or maybe even twice a day, if it's bad, I go into the shower and just let the water go over me and I just talk it out. Yeah. I talk to the water.
Good. Those are all really cool things. It's reached a point in your spiritual progression to get the sacred space where you can have your solo dream space, minus the bonded kids, minus the bonded husband, etc., and all the things that have gone on in between the birth, the pregnancy, the lives, the deaths, etc., so you can be your own being, requires you to do a ceremony where you have a beginning, a middle, and an end, which that includes offerings to the ancestor spirits, because you have given your service to the ancestors and brought the children through and done that service. Now it is time for you to accept the gift of the ancestors by practicing the ceremony so that the gifts can be downloaded to your light body and the light body program can begin to be removed this lifetime. So you don't have to do it in a life review, which means you literally get those other 4 strands as you've done it. You've got it's like metaphorically, it's like you get spiritually, a $1 million jackpot prize to go and learn all the talent, skills, and abilities, because in 6, 7, 8 months from now, your consciousness is going to be looking very different. The way that you earn money can be very different. But that's about you giving that honest to goodness ceremonial time. There's fire out, there's snow out there, but it isn't hard. You can go out and get those Duraflame logs from the stores that burn for 4 hours, get 1 or 2 of them, and put a bunch of wood around it. And in 20 minutes, that fire will be roaring and it'll be all melted and sit out there in the snow. I'm serious. You're at a point where the 21st of March is your chance to grab those 4 new strands, 21st to the 23rd of March. Your second chance will be the 21st to the 23rd of January. If you haven't completed it by then, you're probably going to have to wait another full year before you can try to grab onto 4 strands at once. Because the rest of your time, you really only have 1 strand that you can grab onto, and it may not be the same one each dream night.
And I also had a visitation one time with a being that looked like a praying mantis, and it was so vivid, and I just felt so much love with this being, and I wanted to know, was that, I call her my soul sister, was that somewhere where I came from?
Yes. When you do what it is that you've been doing and having your dream experiences, you meet a lot of beings over there. And some of these beings have figured out that our DNA light bodies have impressed into our DNA physical bodies certain things that allow us to recognize residual image. And a residual image is something, the last image of the being you had before you last saw them in the best light, photonic light that they were. And what that being did was use that last residual image that was in your DNA memory banks and gave you that broadcast of who it was. And that is called an ancestral visitation. That's an off-world one. And it's a great, powerful gift because they are a very loving species. They don't have war. They work with other species to give them technology of trade and travel in exchange for mutual protection in all dimensions, time streams, galaxies, and universes. The praying mantis people go from fourth all the way up to ninth dimensional expressions. There are some praying mantis we'll call queens that they'll come to a planet with 30 or 40 other queens and they'll begin to lay tens of thousands or tens of millions of eggs. And then these eggs will stay in the protection of the sacred feminine planet for 1,000,000 years. And then one queen will come back with a bunch of other insectoid species that aren't just praying mantis, and they'll figure out ways to cross-generate insectoid species so that the insectoid species, which is different than humanoid, can begin to incorporate the same DNA skin suit technology to reach the universal expression of heart space.
Yeah, that's exactly what I felt when I saw her. It was like my heart just opened, like I just felt love, like pure, amazing love.
Yep. What that was her actual stream of consciousness was coming through the sun and was interacting with the earth dream mind. What you were actually contacted with is the queen of another planet. Okay? And she came through and is in the dreaming mind of earth, direct from the broadcast in the Aurora Borealis, looking for every single praying mantis expression that was once one of her eggs. And there were millions here, and you were one of her eggs that you gave birth to. And she is connected. And she is in a much bigger scale expression of what you are in right now. You have children, yet you're not connected to them. You'd love to have relationships with them. So she just knocked on the door and said, hey, I gave birth to you. You don't know me in your life now. Want to have coffee? That's really what that is right there.
Cool. Yeah, it was amazing. Like I wanted more of it, and it went away. So it's kind of like one of those things where you just wish it would come back again.
I think you can make it come back again by doing those fire ceremonies and telling your story to the fire and making sacred space so that you trust yourself enough to tell your story so that you can be authentic when other beings are making visitations like that.
Cool. And another question that I have regarding this lifetime is you know, I'm trying, I don't want to say the word trying, but it feels like trying really hard to go into like the healing arts, and I know everyone's doing it. I know it's the way that the world is progressing, like we're moving towards healing and away from technology and more into the healing arts. And I'm just finding like a really hard time trying to find what it is I do.
What is it that you do for a job right now?
Right now I'm doing psychic medium work, and I'm also doing energy work called bars. I'm working on, I guess, people's heads. You know, more of their concepts of life, like to try to change the way they think. You know, it's not so much about healing their physical body. It's about changing the way they view themselves or they view the world.
Right, the belief. Yep, I'm quite familiar with it. And you aren't fulfilled in doing that?
Am I what?
And you're not fulfilled in doing that?
I'm very fulfilled in doing it. I find that it's like I'm preaching to an empty room.
Tell me about it. I know that one.
And it's really hard. I was actually at an expo today, and not one person asked to get their bars run.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand, like, moving forward and trying to change the, like you said, you know, I have this, I'll have this ability to help other people so that they don't go into fear.
Right.
Don't know how to.
Let me give you a hint. It's about muscle testing for you. You have a DNA skin suit that has the mother connection to the mantis, the mother connection to the souls that you brought through that is a breeder. That means you always have access through your physical body to muscle test the expression of best for Earth and unity consciousness. Okay, so there are all sorts of muscle testing systems that you can learn about. Some people tap their fingers, other people tap the backs of their ears. Some are more sensitive or less sensitive places. And based off of the type of energy that's in the situation, you may need to find a way to muscle test with any part of your body, because your body is the resounding system of how the elemental sources of Earth is working through you. You have a tremendous connection through the body, the parasympathetic uploads that have been going on through your dream world, that it's time to incorporate that body. So an even greater magical knowingness comes out of your skill set. You know, when people hear me just go through stream, that's impressing into them. That's impressive to them. And to others, they cannot even begin to fathom how they do it. This is the spark, the next layer of bringing the weaving power that your soul is doing, because you are still doing psychic surgery. When you're doing medium work, you are still doing psychic surgery. The English words are just what it needs to exchange the value in this world. The amount of work that's on the other levels is much, much more.
Yeah, I realize I do that. Like sometimes when I do the readings, you're so dead on. It's like, I do muscle testing all the time. I mean, I don't get my information from my thoughts. I actually get it through anywhere I can.
Right.
You know, and I really connect in with spirit. Like, I just get messages, and I just say it.
Right. And being able to teach people the muscle testing system that you've got. And maybe it's time for you to use a pendulum as well as dowsing rods.
I make them. I have a spirit board. I have the pendulum.
Maybe it's time that you set up a rigament structure where twice a day, 3 times a day, you use a pendulum to do the 7 directions on yourself: the north, the ancestors; the south, the innocent inner child; the east, the illumination and clarity; the west, which is your dream time; the above time stream, which is your ancient ancestors off-world; the below timeline, which is your hollow earth ancestors; and then the surface timeline, which is the graduating you with all the current soul codes acting in unity. So you can actually do that on a pendulum test each day to discover if you are moving left or right or into polarity, out of polarity with each chakra system. So you can begin to create a permanent Merkaba field around your entire existence. Okay? So that's a way of taking it to a more advanced level. Another expression is, for you, it's the body. Well, what I just said, you could apply to alchemy of food for yourself, where your ceremony is to make food. And that food is what you're going to spiritually consume during your readings.
It's funny because I do shares, and when I invite everyone over, I feed them. I make food for everybody. That's what I do.
Yeah, you need to do it just for yourself. Elite food for yourself. You need to start giving yourself the talent as much as possible. Maybe even scheduling a reading with yourself through your own Skype thing so you can see your own imagery and literally give yourself your own reading.
Cool. Thank you.
Once a week. When I first started reading, and I was in my teenage years, I used a set of cards. Other times I didn't. Sometimes I looked at their palm. Other times I was blindfolded and 5 people came in front of me and they sat one down. I didn't know who it was, and I'd still read them. It was just a matter of what form I wanted to communicate to that individual being. You need to discover that you have hundreds of other forms waiting to expressively connect to you once you figured out how to create them in English that has linguistics that and more of what you're saying.
And then I'll get more information from
the client will give you more information back psychically so that the next set of words that you do are even more powerful and more powerful. Because again, it's coming through the conscious exchange of the words and how the words are received through the quantum of the person. So when you're giving a reading and you're giving those words, you are giving that being quantum light that they're hearing as sound and translating back to quantum light to see if it does something to the body to create a sphere of healing around them.
Cool. And you had talked earlier about, the beings that are waiting. Do you honestly see it happening soon? Like,
okay,
I just can't see having like these visitations at night and meeting other beings and talking to them, and not having it go the next step.
Right. Because you are at the hesitation moment. Am I ready to really disassociate from the fraud reality and all the fun things that it has and go into this other reality and create something brand new at a multidimensional level and be much less invested here? And then once I learn over there, I must invest from the other side, the dream side, and invest back into my world. It's like moving house twice. This is this thing about awakening, especially for those that are earlier awakeners like you. As soon as the quarantine field changed and as soon as they allowed people to speak at this level, you just started doing it innately. Even though you were doing it before, it's just you reached a point where you could up the scale at which you are going to do it so that your potential people that you connect with is greatly, greatly increased. You're at a point where your soul has reached its apex. And now the soul has to determine how much more do I want to put into this spark? Well, for me to do that, I must go onto the other side and integrate my dream world into this physical side. I must figure out how to include the body into so much more of the psychic experience that I have. Not just during readings, after readings.
Right, like I live and breathe it.
Right, like bluntly for you, sex for you has got to be incredible every time for you. And if it isn't, you have to figure out how to fix that. Because you need that kundalini so that you can connect to the sacred feminine and masculine and make that magic through word for that belief system of that person.
Is there anything I know the answer is working on yourself. Is there any, besides doing this clinic, is there any kind of call I could put out there to say, hey, I'm ready for so much more?
Yeah, and the answer is challenging yourself before you go to sleep. An actual spiritual challenge that the I am presence is going to say, I'm going to tell myself before I go to sleep, I want to have ancestral family reunions. And I want to be able to remember them in my first 10 minutes of my day in the morning so I can begin to have a closer understanding of my dream world is. And make that your kata, your discipline. Make it your focus, because what you focus on is what you manifest. We are manifesting beings of photonic light. And when we begin to give this photonic light sound and hand movement and drawing and digital documents, we make that photonic light take manifest form. And when you are photonic lighting and you're just before you're going to sleep, you are telling your dreaming body to let go of these programmings to go do this, and not let the I am presence know. You're saying, I want to know. I want to know. Right. And you got to do that enough times that you become disciplined to do it. And then once you begin having those experiences, that's the confirmation you're searching for. You want that another piece. So it's about crafting those special words before you go to sleep. I like to do them off the cuff because it just shows the creative format that is required for one to be in. Here's an example, like before you go to sleep, I, in the ever-present moment, acknowledge that this body is getting ready for sleep. I talk to my sympathetic body to let go of fear, pain, or rejection, or envy, or anything else that's projected onto you. Allow yourself to be bathed with my entire dreaming consciousness. That which is my intestinal tract, please reduce all toxins so my dreaming body can naturally enter and leave my body without any impressions onto it. A whole dreaming body that's going to be going on a great journey. I'm acknowledging you as part of me in this hierarchical structure. We are now going to be co-creators in this dream process. So here's the connection to me to pull me through the dream time so I can begin to have a synopsis of what you do in your infinite streams of thought and consciousness. A whole friend dreaming body that's connected to different expressions of time and space. I am not fully multi-dimensional, but I am willing to learn. Now let's come to an agreement that when we wake up, that we share as much as possible. So in those first few minutes, I can have a better understanding and I can go through the big aha moments and we can all come to peace. And each night I will give to you again and again and again this dream of connection.
Wow, that was beautiful. That was really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really like that. That was powerful. And I just have one more question.
Sure.
You know, I always considered myself a warrior of something. And I feel like there's so much more. Like I feel like there's something I'm supposed to do, and I don't know if I'm doing it. Like on one aspect, I really feel like at night in my dream world, I'm changing the world.
I know exactly what you're saying. And I have this to say that to that being that's trying to understand the fight. And it isn't a fight anymore. That's the big catch all. Once you get out of fighting, you'll understand that there are things you're doing in the dream world that you haven't really begun to understand how they incorporate into the rest of the world. As an example, about maybe a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, there was an individual that you met and you just did your psychic skill and you didn't even realize that you were doing on them that profoundly changed their life. And that being went and talked to another person that profoundly changed their life. And that being who at 30 degrees of separation, who profoundly changed their life, had a mystical experience that allowed a whole new expression of mantis energy to come into this world. So you are working at that scale, looking for people in dream worlds so that the synchronicities can line up in the physical world of every person that you talk to, so that your soul code travels through this system undetected and finds exactly who it was meant to find. You are part of Great Mystery's plan, and know that you can put Great Mystery's plan into a little bit more fast forward by assisting it, by getting out there. Maybe it's time for you to look at the scale in which you advertise yourself and go, I need to be presented different. I need to weigh the focus. Yes.
I said that today. I was like, I don't quite know how to do it, but I know that it's my voice. There was a reason why God made me, an Italian.
The reason God made me
talk.
The same thing. Reason that God made me a Greek. All right.
Well, yeah, that's right, because we're talkers. We can't shut up.
Can't shut up. Exactly. So my advice for your linguistics, pick up some books of language and figure out some words that you would never use. Math words, science words, just figure out how to incorporate them into your spiritual talk. That's what you can do now is even randomly open a dictionary 20 times a day so you can get a brand new word in your linguistics every other day and begin
to do that. Yeah,
all right,
I used to do that. And well, I quote you a lot. So
good. Quote me too.
I can't be a bad thing, right?
Yes. All right,
well, Andrew Bartza says.
This has been a fun reading. We have got to end it now. Thank you very, very much.
No, thank you very, very much. And like I said, I wish I would have met you in person, and maybe someday I will.
We'll probably be doing events sometime at the end of this year or beginning of next year, so people will look forward to that. Thanks a lot.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye.
And this is part of our continuing series of Return to the Inner Kingdom, where we are using these readings as a way of presenting the great and wonderful. And Jerry was a very, very special person that really touches on a whole lot of subjects. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about Jerry for a second.
Well, that one moment when you told her when that being came to visit her. I mean, Jerry's a being that is targeted, and we know why, because she's already activating DNA strands consciously now, and she's bringing her dream state into her awake state and getting multiple visitations, one of them from the praying mantis kind. And really, I mean, when Debbie and I were listening to this, I had tears swelling up. But they weren't tears of sorrow. There was just so much love. It's like my body just couldn't hold that much love in that moment. It was amazing, amazing.
I've experienced the insectoid kinds in the Akashic record from many, many different frequencies. And when I've spoken about them on air many, many times when I've done the reading shows. In this particular format, it was a way for the mother who had given birth to another being to check in on who that being was deep in the ancient future and the world she seated them on. And from that perspective, I was able to connect to the whole Akashic record of that entire clan and their purpose in being there, and that they're all sharing their heart space DNA memory. That is why new strands of DNA were able to connect to her consciousness in physical form.
Right, and what was so ironic about that is that her wanting to reconnect again with her children, and how she was explaining her family's lineage, and some of the light body programming, and when you were getting into the ceremonial aspect and actually receiving the gifts of the ancestors. I mean, that teaching in itself was huge.
Right. Each moment of these Akashic record readings are in that high frequency, here's your gift. And you take that gift in many different ways. And for her, the great gift is the overall teaching of her perspective, her place in her rites of passage. What she's gone through and what she's experienced made her the being that she is now. And with all of those connections, who she will be next week will be different, and who she will be the month after that will be different.
Yeah. I mean, what was jumping out at you, Debbie, when you initially heard this reading?
When she saw the praying mantis, that Andrew brought out the fact that it was attached when she saw that, and she felt this deep love, there was a residual image. And I found that really interesting. I want to know a bit more about that.
That is how imagery of who another mother being was survived in light body impression. As we know, memories are restored in our minds and our hearts and our spirit as light. They aren't this physical experience anymore, because this physical experience is still based in the reality rules of light. So when a residual image of light comes through and there's heart space connection to it, that is showing you that this being can multidimensionally reach out and see its young into different ages throughout multiple dimensions and perceptions of time.
And that's right. And that's where, for example, when we're talking about light, when you hear Andrew speaking light language, this is also bringing back residual memory within you. It's allowing you to remember. It's opening gateways, doorways, resonances that can awaken things that are trying to be masked from you through the system. And we've got a light language series coming up as well. That's right. I remember you were writing about it on the blog, Debbie.
Yes.
And that should be coming out this week as well. Or actually, let me think. I think we'll be getting it out really, really soon, in about the next 24 hours. I'm not quite sure.
It should be out really rather shortly.
Yeah.
This is one that has taken a long time to master just right, but you guys are really, really going to have a treat out of it. We go in depth and we teach you how to speak a light language, explain it what it is at the highest layers.
And I think the light language, what ended up being made and done is that we have 4 sections for you. So you can buy each section individually if that's what you're looking for, to be with the light language, to learn from it.
If you just want a sample of it, or you want to get the whole teaching.
And then you can buy the whole teaching, which is 4 sections on various things of defense and sacredness and strategy and healing. But getting back to the reading with Gerry also does psychic readings, and you were giving her a lot of advice on how to check how she is with the muscle testing and then the pendulum and stuff like that. And what I love is that each of us learn from each other. And what I'm really liking is that more and more and more the practitioners are coming together and exchanging their understandings, because each of us hold a key. No one has it all. Each of us have a golden key that once we discover it, we can share with the rest of the world. And it's really wonderful to see these amazingly talented beings come forth and say, hey, this is what's going on with me, this is my key, and how can we activate it more and work together? How can we make this thing real? Sharing
the teachings of internal and external dialogue, sharing the teachings of signature frequency, understanding, all of those are a way that as beings come together, they can learn on a much deeper level. These teachings, especially when people are professional practitioners, which many people come to me, they're taking back this perspective so that they can ultimately disentangle from what's targeted them or from what's stopped them from achieving their own goals, so that they can achieve their own goals and then help others achieve their goals just as effectively.
And I've also noticed that a lot of these individuals, the more powerful they are in their authentic signature frequency, they get hit, they get targeted. Everybody has to deal with that. And when you are dealing with dense frequency situations, like we were talking in the previous show about making sure you have that hindsight, being able to work with that, it's always fascinating when you find people coming out with their new keys. And with Gerry, how she was targeted as a child. And none of the doctors could figure out what was wrong with her. Now, we did a section on targeted individuals that explained a lot of ways that could be helped, and this reading also includes some really good aspects and understandings for you as well.
And when it comes to being a targeted individual, she survived. And that's the key to understanding the teaching here. That which did not kill her made her stronger, strong enough to reach at a whole new level to gain back her sovereignty over a system that was putting debt on her at the very youngest of age.
That's right. And also when her child was being born and she was pregnant. And then, it's also that hesitation moment. The more you've been targeted, and when you become and you begin to expand, you still have those wounds. You still have those memories. We then have to deal with what is known as the hesitation moment. And there was a great teaching about the hesitation moment. And you've talked about this a few times, but afterwards I'd like to get more into that and explain how we can overcome those moments as individuals when we're going forth and expanding ourselves.
Hesitation has so many things applied to it. You know, doubt and hesitation are one and the same, yet equally opposite. For one to exist, there must be a state of doubt for hesitation to be created, but hesitation can also create its own expression of doubt. And the signature frequency of hesitation is it being literally wasting a lot of energy for every choice, source, moment of choice. When you stop wasting the energy on hesitating, should I not, should I do it this way, what if I did this, what if I did with this, and then they make a choice and they go right back into that habit pattern of should I. You end that old argumentative moment, and you understand, once I stop in doubt and hesitation, I can come to the true fact of why I can't move forward with hesitation as the sole blockage and the sole creation of a limitation.
Right. So the should have, would have, could have thing, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And how many people live with that?
Too many people live with the three sisters of shame, blame, and guilt, or the three brothers of internal self-torture. You know, those are all metaphorical ways of us begin to understand we all put the weight of the universe on our backs often, and we need not do that. Our bodies are not meant to take on the weight of the universe. That's our soul's purpose. Our upper spirit's mission is to not make it weight, but to make it a geometric understanding of a expression of all volume, equally created and shared amongst the all.
Right.
So hesitation is ultimately crossing that parapet, that great precipice, into knowingness. You know, we all have knowingness. We all know where they're more than we've heard, read, or studied. And when you just let it rip, you let it rip. And she, as a practitioner, knows how to let it rip and how to let it be. It's those after moments. Will she let it rip on herself? Will she turn her tongue and use it on herself?
And that's what I was going to also talk about when you said make a Skype appointment and do a Skype reading with yourself. Do that. Have your own Skype reading with yourself. And this reminds me of a technique that someone taught me quite a while ago when I was trying to emanate what was coming through on frequencies, and I couldn't just find the words. I wanted it to be fully integrated, not just coming from somewhere. So then there was the writing that was involved and typing on the computer, learning how to deal with the frequencies of the computer and typing, and she helped me get through that. So it was literally Arcturian speaking to Arcturian. You see what I'm saying? And it was really funny because my hands were just doing what they were going to do, and this was an amazing being that helped me do that. I mean, again, there are so many talented people out there that just have a key that can change your life like that. It's just so beautiful.
Returning to the metaphorical concept of the toolbox.
Yeah.
This show, we offer you tools to add into the toolbox, and sometimes we offer you a whole box that's empty. But inside that box are tools that you need to create so that that box, that structure of understanding, has the right tools of your own creation in them. Because sometimes it's just the understanding that says you need a toolbox. Otherwise, you are not really dealing with it. It is just a river in Egypt at that point. Denial. And for many people, it is a river in Egypt, and we cannot judge them for it. Can we moan and groan about it? Sure, but you ultimately have to let that energy go. You can't let it hang around you, because if you do, it will drag you down. It will attract dense energy to you.
You're just feeding it then, really, aren't you?
You're
putting your consciousness towards it. You're putting your energy towards it. You're helping it make manifest rather than just letting it out of your mind.
And you can take that experience, instead of letting it bring you down, look at that experience and see, how can I grow from this?
Exactly. How can I grow? How can I be? You know, how can we... You got to that moment where not only do you know you're more than you've heard, read, or studied, you know you're light years ahead of what you've heard, read, or studied. Have you ever had that moment of intense brilliance? All the time we do. All the time we do.
And that little light bulb goes on,
the light bulb goes off.
And you just want to shout it out from the rooftops because you're just so enveloped with that frequency of understanding and the highest of love.
Yeah.
And that's what we all endeavor to share at all times, is that we can share that moment of brilliance with everyone else, and that it isn't mistranslated, misunderstood, and taken out of context.
That's always the conundrum, isn't it?
You know, I even remember telling her in the reading to go with some of this information and make it your own. Because sometimes if you don't make it your own, it's still an external source that hasn't truly connected to your source time frequency of nowness.
Yes, because she did mention that. She said, I do mention your name a lot and says, Andrew Bartzer says this and Andrew Bartzer says that. And you were like, absolutely, by all means, but have that understanding. Have that understanding and then make it your own. Because when she says it, and you were explaining this to her, it's like when you have taken that understanding and made it your own and fully have integrated with your soul emanating its equation.
It's truth equation.
It's truth equation. He said, I can tell you, for example, 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, I can't remember precisely, he said, I can tell you, you talked to someone and what you gave that person with your understanding, your equation, and she thought it was her voice, but it's really what is
Her
making the
space.
voice. It's a heart space voice. It's an amazing being, this Jerry. What she brought forth was through that being got something and then passed it on to a whole bunch of other beings that Jerry wasn't actually aware of in this I am presence. In her other light bodies, for sure, we can see that. But in this I am presence, and to be able to have that gift of Andrew explaining that to her, marvelous.
Yes.
Having that understanding of taking it to the new layer. We all have to strive to take it to the new layer. Not every day,
Right.
but at least has to be in your cyclical habit pattern. Because if it isn't in your cyclical habit pattern, you are giving tacit consent away of all this infinite energy that you have available for you to go out and have the adventure, for go out and have the mystical experience, to go out and have a just plain good day with your children, where the system can't interfere with you, to go out and have a moment chance where you can meet someone who's your perfect reflection of love. To have that true moment of inner knowing and dreams that you can sleep in an extra 2 hours and you're not going to get fired.
Indeed, yeah.
Makes a difference. I know for myself too, when I'm working with clients, after a past life regression, I ask them to go home and reflect on what they've gone through, but to rewrite it themselves, so that they get the full understanding and get more into the frequency of the changes. And so that's a total integration when they rewrite it themselves.
And once you integrate changes, you must actualize them. That's the next layer. Actualizing changes. We all sometimes run into those moments where we think we're actualizing changes and we're internally doing it. And I'm going to be the first one to say, no, you're not. You need to actualize it. That means your hands need to manifest something, or something needs to be shown that the exchange for value that your mind is processing and your heart is creating has resided and changed something in this world, even if you've carved yourself a toothpick. Or made yourself a sacred fire, or did something that was for the manifestation of that energy because it has parts of its equation your mind cannot understand, and the final application of that sacred moment to body interaction creates a sacred object and a sacred moment of focus that has completed all of the misunderstood parts of the equation.
And that is also your marker, your gift, your talisman, your knowingness, your proof, as one can say, ultimately, when you've been doing the work, because they do come. If you're aware, the gifts come in so many different ways, for sure.
In many of the Turtle Isle expressions, they got a new feather for every mystical experience they had. And when they wore that feathered headdress, all of the other people in the tribe knew what each of those mystical experiences were, because it was their special signature teaching as that spirit being that was sharing their medicine or energy with the tribe in equal co-creation.
Right.
It's beautiful.
So when you had 200, 300, 400 feathers on a headdress, that's how many mystical experiences they co-created with, procreated with, or created out of thin air. And as practitioners and presenters, you do that every day. You're there to be the mystical experience, a circus moving, going around, so people can pay their $20 and have their mystical experience.
Until they all understand that all of us indeed are the mystery.
Exactly. And that $20 was pointless.
You can't buy.
It just has belief. You cannot buy enlightenment.
No, you can't.
You can only understand it.
I mean, the buying of enlightenment. I mean, it's coming up more and more as the people
More
start
and
to
more and
awaken.
more. And there are even detractors of this show that are saying the same thing. If it's not put out for free, it has no value.
How can we put this out for free?
You can't. Who's going to pay the bills?
Who's going to pay the bills?
Exactly. Who's gonna deal with the matrix lawyers? Who's gonna deal with all of the other things that come with putting a presentation on that is at a global scale?
Yeah. I mean, okay,
And
so
your
only
time.
Americans are allowed to have this for free. The rest of the world's not allowed to have it. So we cannot share this technology and use it because it's only supposed to be for free for a certain amount of people. Is that what's happening?
Apparently, yeah. But that's not just this show. This is dozens of other shows.
Wow.
Where the second they put out anything of value, the first thing that comes up are those that it should say it have no value. Once you take its value away from the system, it cannot be valuated anymore in its teachings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Only the individual understander of the moment in the live experience can get that teaching because it's been devaluated.
Right.
Well, once we value something, we put it in exchange for value for it. And for those that are in the density of that exchange for value, that's what they'll get. Because we are in the time of separation of densities. I can't change that. All I can do is my 1 degree of separation is this density. This density of teaching. And if you are in this density of teaching, here's the teaching. You would already have come to that layer of abundance or understanding to know what it is that you need out of this particular layer of expression.
I also think it's the understanding, the true understanding of what energy and energy exchange is. Because right now the energy exchange that's acceptable by everybody is actually money.
Money.
And until that comes to another understanding, the energy exchange, then you'll have, we covered this in mystery schools.
Oh yeah, many
but
times.
I guess those people didn't buy it because they didn't want to spend the money.
I have been talking about exchange for energy, and I believe even in the reading we talked about exchange for energy as a presenter, that if you don't get it, you are selling yourself short, because they don't truly understand what it takes to create that moment.
Well, it's the actual exchange of the energy. I mean, you see that time and time again. I mean, there's some really great beings that actually run schools as well, and they do it for as little as they can, but right now they have to pay rent, they have to pay electricity, they have to pay for
car insurance, registration,
and then
taxes.
And then to run a place like that, and you know, they're working 24/7 because they've got people who volunteer and then are all flaky. So you actually have to pay people to get some kind of a continuation. That's just the way it goes.
Decorum.
And what happens is they try to do it, and look what happened to them. They're not there anymore. They're broke. They're finished. They're done. A lot of them are kind of like living out of their cars or in a trailer. Their house is gone. Why? Because all these people wanted it for free.
Yes.
But they don't have any problem paying for a Starbucks coffee. And they don't have any problem buying specific things that mean something, because then it's a fair energy exchange. And that's the understanding. That's where belief comes in. What is value for you?
Especially in this industry where, you know, if you set a price and there's the naysayers, well, if you go to a gas station, are you going to bargain with the clerk and say, I don't want to pay $4 a gallon, I want to pay $2?
Oh, it's cable TV. Are you going to tell the cable TV guy, hey, I don't want to pay my monthly?
Yeah, what's he going to do? Bloop, turn you off.
Well, we live in a 3D reality,
right.
And the 3D reality is the money exchange. And if you don't have the money, you don't get the goods.
That's right.
But you also get the free stuff that comes with it. That's the nature of the Galactic Historian TV channel, so we could bring it in 50 languages. To not just the American consumers.
That's true. That's true.
You know, we've had a giant a listening audience recently grow in Thailand and Vietnam out of nowhere.
Huge. Huge.
Out of nowhere. And thank you for all those wonderful listeners that are tuning into the shows in Vietnam and Thailand.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. And then I think also what a lot of people have to understand is they have all consciously agreed that money is a value. And until they are clean enough in their spiritual selves to actually be able to, as some practitioners, masters do, emanate that energy, so there is a true energy exchange, until they're at that level, the only thing they can energetically actually give back in the exchange is then basically money, because that's what they still, you know, given themselves to at this moment in this matrix. Now, there are some beings I know that being in that pure eminence, it makes everything so possible that you could, like this, manifest wealth. So what is it you want? What do you want?
And it is, and also when you're looking at, you know, different things, even like this show, how much value do you put on the information that you're getting? You know, everything has a value, an energy value, and money exchange.
Last year I put out 153 live shows. Live free shows. What value was put on that and the amount of information that put out? That is this current listening audience.
How do you put a value on awakening?
How do you?
Yeah.
realization. How do you put a value on removing your veil? Let me help you remove your veil.
$9.99.
What did they say about the doctor? You know, that one doctor that goes in there and does an operation, and the guy gets really mad, and he's like, "Wow, you know, the anesthetic only costs like $90, but you're charging me $3,000." And the doctor looks at him, he's like, "I knew where to cut." Do you think I learned that for free?
Exactly.
I come with a few dead patients along the way.
And so many years of study and
yes,
expense.
it costs a lot.
Yes,
it costs a lot. I mean, Reiki masters, how much are they charging these days? I mean, I know in the past days it was like $10,000 to become a Reiki master.
Now you can do it for under $1,500.
Oh, so they're still charging. So to become a Reiki master, you charge money. You don't get it for free, do you?
You know, you have level 1, 2, and 3, and each person charges their own. And there are
but they still charge, right?
Yes, there are those that try to give it away for free, which has caused great disturbance in that organization because it is very much steeped in ancestral understanding in Japan and in other areas in China as a different version of hands-on healing, which has been bastardized by the Americans marketing it at this level of that because there are people that were being taught that weren't ready for it. And the value of $10,000 comes from one particular person in Hawaii that was trying to teach that particular method, but they wanted you to understand that $10,000 was because you were going to be training for years to learn how to do it right and have respect for what it was. And understanding that you may need to know about ancestral spirits and understanding so that this Reiki treatment does not harm you. So that you were the true aspect of a healer. So when you reached mastership and you learned psychic surgery, you said that you would take on students. And this is the big thing where Reiki has been over-popularized. And there are plenty of other skill sets. The same thing has been done to where, you know, everyone decided to be a teacher one day and there were thousands of students waiting. Why? Because it was their time for awakening and there was nothing else out there that could do it.
So when I was listening to Jerry's reading and you were giving her the spiritual advice and counseling for her children, how to reconnect, I mean, there were so many aspects that I remember we covered in spiritual parenting. And we were going to do, and we are going to do another section on spiritual parenting and spiritual cleanliness. If you guys haven't checked that out yet, we do have that available. Andrew did an amazing session, actually 2 sessions on spiritual parenting and with different understandings of how you can reconnect with your child and teach them spiritual cleanliness as well.
Spiritual hygiene is just a must-now-have skill for everyone.
Yes.
It comes with its own expressions, its own ways. You just have to come into your heart. What is spiritual hygiene to you? And begin to follow through with that practice discipline so spiritual hygiene actually does something for you.
And that's where the spring equinox solstice series that we're doing now, we have the equinox solstice, now we're working towards the solstice coming up soon. And the ceremony aspects, we explain so much of that in that event. It's a part 1 to a year series, taking the audience step by step through. So if you haven't checked that out, please do. It's got some incredible fire ceremony understandings in there, where Andrew has given us insights to different mythologies we can use that really help change things and allow you to accept the ancestral gifts. That is one of the huge things that I think a lot of people don't really understand, is when you actually physically engage in ceremony like this, if you've physically done it, you'll know what I mean. You get those moments, you get those gifts, you get those offerings, you walk away sometimes with whole new perspectives that grant you whole new equations of power within yourself.
And this upcoming brand new solstice on the 21st to the 23rd of June, we get a chance to revisit. And there will be another part to that equinox special.
Yes.
Those 3.5 hours that we gave you in that special, that's one toolbox. Now here's the next toolbox. Think and contemplate what was in there for those that have already seen it. And have an understanding, I'm going to up the scales and going to explain at an even higher level of conscious exploration what our world is going through in the now, and how you as individual beings of the now can make a difference as your own authentic individual journey and story is told.
I found the equinox absolutely inspiring, and there was so much information there, Andrew, that I had to watch it in 3 stages because there was just so much that you could work with, and it was just amazing. And then the bonus that we got given.
Who shall not be named, who caused many issues after his name was not named.
So what I like about the past things that you've brought forward, the spring equinox, the blood, the targeted individuals, like for example this reading with Jerry, those were those aspects that you covered already in these teachings, video on demands that you're giving. It's all in there. And then having a reading like Jerry just shows again and again how useful these tools are and these understandings.
This is the Return to the Inner Kingdom series, so that we can begin to see that each individual person's journey can be a great lesson to those that are going through their own journey now. Your own individual journey that will have its own individuated, implicate order of an end, where you begin to see your multidimensional spirit expand. And you begin to have mystical experiences and share them with everyone around you, because that is your inherent birthright. Thanks a lot, everyone. We'll catch you next week.
Namaste.
Namaste.